And so people that give it the effort and that take chances, they deserve a certain amount of credit.
Without him, there wouldn't have been a gold rush. So we're all good.
The stars of the hit TV show Gold Rush, Tony and Mike Beets, are known for having big personalities and going on dangerous adventures in the world of gold mine. Fans of the show followed them as they tried to make it rich in the harsh desert, dealing with rough terrain and mining problems along the way. It looked like their lives were being filmed as an exciting and daring story. It was the American dream come true because they were ready to take risks and work hard. They built their business and their reputation. When the terrible news came out, though, everything changed. Tony and Mike Beets were given life sentences in jail. Everyone was shocked by this twist, which was both shocking and heartbreaking. On TV, the Beets family was almost always linked to gold mine. Suddenly, they were in the middle of a scandal in real life. What's wrong? And how did these two men, who were once praised for their determination, get themselves into this terrible mess? Many people found it hard to believe that fans who had cheered for them on TV were now questioning everything they thought they knew about the Beets family. The sudden change in events caused a lot of confusion, doubt, and most of all, interest. The news came after a very heated court case. A chain of events that were found during the investigation painted a much darker picture than anyone had thought. Information about the case was carefully kept secret, which made the whole thing even more mysterious. Join us as we learn more about Tony and Mike's trip, what they did to get into this situation, whether they were breaking the law, or whether there was a more complicated chain of events that brought them down. Tony Beets was born in the Netherlands in 1959 in the small town of Wegenis. His only things with him were hope and a few dollars when he moved to Canada in 1980, when he was 21 years old. To make ends meet, he got a job on a dairy farm in Alberta, where he first lived. Tony was used to working hard, even though life was hard. That being said, it didn't take him long to figure out that gardening wasn't the best way to make money. He changed his attention to mining because he was interested in stories of wealth and had a strong work ethic. Many people would have given up on the Klondike region in Yukon Territory because of its harsh temperature and remote wilderness. But Tony didn't. He didn't see problems, just chances. Tony Beets did more than just dig for gold in the Yukon. He made a name for himself. He rose to fame in the world of gold digging in spite of the rough terrain and harsh weather. Because he didn't give up. He not only struck gold, but he also found his true love. It wasn't just a job to mine. It turned into a way of life for him and made him one of the most famous and successful people in the business. Tony Beets did well in more places than just the Yukon. From the ground up, he built a huge gold mine business. Tony started out with almost nothing and built a small mining business into a family business that became one of the most famous in the Klondike. Starting from the start, his wife Minnie Beets was very important. She kept the business side of things running smoothly, while Tony worked on operations in the field. The Beets children, Kelvin, Monica, and Mike began working for their dad as the business grew. Instead of going after other jobs, they joined the family business and learned how to run huge multi-million-dollar pieces of machinery. They learned the trade the hard way by doing it themselves, often in bad weather and other harsh situations with Tony's help. Tony became famous very quickly for his crazy personality and deep knowledge of mines. He also worked very hard and didn't take no for an answer. His unusual ways of doing things, short temper, and famously bad language made him stand out from other workers. He was known for telling his team, including his family, what to do and pushing them to their limits. His famous catchphrase, "Shut the fuck up and keep mining," was often used to break up the action. People who watched the hit reality show Gold Rush really liked how honest Tony was, and he became a fan favorite. People admired how he wouldn't sugarcoat the truth, and how determined he was to win despite all the odds. Tony Beets was already a pro. When he joined Gold Rush in Season 2, with decades of skill, he was already a miner. Tony had been a miner for a long time, and knew a lot about the job that many of the other miners didn't. Many of Tony's competitors had a hard time finding gold in the harsh Klondike conditions, but his business always did better than the others, bringing in huge amounts of gold year after year. Because he was experienced and planned his digging, he did well where others failed. By the 5th season, Tony had made a big move that made him one of the most driven miners in the Klondike. He paid a huge $1 million for the famous dredge at Eureka Creek. A huge risk was taken. A lot of people who didn't like it thought it would end badly. But Tony saw opportunity, where other people saw danger. He spent a lot of time and money fixing up the famous dredge, which was a huge old piece of mining equipment. Tony proved his doubters wrong by making it profitable, even though the odds were against him. The dredge became a successful business that helped Tony build his empire. As the gold rush grew, producers quickly learned that Tony Beets and his family were a big part of why people liked the show. Along with Tony's larger-than-life attitude, The drama in the Beets family became a big part of the show's success. People often called the Beets family the Vikings of the Klondike. They brought a special energy to the show, and fans found their stories to be some of the most interesting. It wasn't just about gold. It was about how strong the Beets family was, how their relationships were always changing, and how they never gave up on their goal of success. Tony found something even more important in the Yukon wilderness than gold, a way to show how honest and determined he was. Through hard work, smart risk-taking, and a bit of grit, he was able to show that even the most unusual ideas could become successful businesses. There was no promise of success in the Klondike, but for Tony Beets, it was the reward for years of hard work and determination. The Beets family built a mining business over the years, and people watched as it grew on TV. As people watched, they saw the family's control over the gold mine business grow as they staked more claims and expanded their operations. Tony Beets was at the center of this rise, a veteran miner who was known for being a tough boss in both the field and on screens. His son Mike Beets worked right next to him. Mike started working in the mines when he was very young, and quickly became his father's valued assistant. He learned everything there was to know about the business, from how to operate heavy equipment, to how to manage the logistics of a crew. He had a strong work ethic, and was naturally a leader. It looked like Mike would eventually take over the family business, Paradise Hill, and carry on the work that Tony had started. But there was some strain in their relationship as father and son. Even though they were close, the stresses of the mining business often put it to the test. It was usual for people to get into heated arguments and shouting matches, especially when mining conditions were bad. Even though they had disagreements, they respected each other. Tony and Mike slowly gave Mike more responsibility, so that he could finally run the Beets mining business on his own. But things got darker behind the scenes. In 2019, federal inspectors started looking into the Beets family business. After complaints about environmental violations, especially wrong ways of getting rid of wastewater, normal checks quickly turned into a bigger study. From what it started as, authorities are said to have found problems with the company's records, such as strange inconsistencies in how gold output was reported. There were claims that when Tony's family passed the power from Tony to Mike, more than just mining information was passed along. Investigators said that illegal activities may have been a part of the business for decades, linking illegal activities with mining operations that were otherwise legal. It became clear as the probe went on that the family's rise to power in the mining industry may have been accompanied by illegal activities that had become deeply ingrained in the day-to-day running of the business over many years. Adding a dark tone to the story, the Beets company was full of legal and criminal problems, overshadowing what at first glance seemed to be a simple story about a family's success in the mining business. Court papers say that the investigation into the Beets family's mining business got a lot worse when former workers came forward with shocking claims about illegal mining practices and large-scale tax evasion. An inspector for mines named John Reeves gave one of the most important testimony, who said that samples of the environment taken from the tailings ponds on the Beets lands contained dangerous chemicals like cyanide and mercury. These chemicals are not allowed at all in modern gold mining because they are very bad for health and the environment. For example, they can pollute groundwater and hurt ecosystems for a long time. Based on what Reeves said, it seems that these poisons were used on purpose to increase the rate of gold recovery, even more so early in the morning, when TV teams were not there and were not working. Prosecutors said that these illegal activities were hidden on purpose to keep up a good public image and make as much money as possible. The most damning proof came from Brian Anderson, who used to work as a mechanic for the Beets family for 8 seasons. Anderson helped the police and gave them video from a hidden camera that showed Tony and Mike Beets talking with buyers from Venezuela about gold deals that were never reported to the tax authorities. Prosecutors say that this video showed that there was a well-organized money laundering scheme to avoid taxes and foreign scrutiny. The plan called for selling gold without recording it on the books. The prosecution brought in financial experts, who said that between 2012 and 2012, when the Beets family was at the height of their fame from the Discovery Channel show Gold Rush, more than $15 million in gold sales were not recorded. A second set of financial records that were hidden in Tony Beets' office were found after more research. Reports say that these papers showed the real gold recovery numbers, who were much richer than what they said on the TV show or on their tax returns. Peter Lewis, a former crew member, said in court that a lot of what people saw on Gold Rush was a highly edited version of a much bigger, more secretive operation. This makes the claims more likely to be true. Lewis remembered that Tony told his team all the time what happens after the cameras leave stays between us, indicating that certain activities were hidden on purpose from both the film crew and the government bodies in charge. In a public court case, the Beets family's lawyers, led by famous defense lawyer Samantha Wright, fought hard against major charges of environmental crimes, tax evasion, and selling gold without a license. Wright said that the prosecution's witnesses were just angry ex-employees with personal grudges, implying that their statements were based more on anger than on truth. Fought hard to protect Tony Beets' image, showing him as a tough but honest businessman who had built a mining empire through decades of hard work and not by breaking the law. Wright told the court that this man had spent his whole life building a business. She made it clear that the public had been watching the Beets family for more than 10 years because they were famous from their roles on the TV show Gold Rush. Wright said that these people are TV stars, not crime masterminds. Why would someone do something wrong when there are national cameras rolling? On the other hand, authorities painted a very different picture. That the Beets fame wasn't something that would stop them, but rather something that would help them, like a great smoke mask. It is said that the family took attention away from a much bigger and more secret mining business by showing a controlled and polished version of their operations on TV. Prosecutors said that while people watch staged mining as entertainment, the real business was making millions of dollars in hidden profits and damaging the environment in a way that could not be fixed. The jury heard from over a dozen witnesses for 6 weeks and came to the same conclusion. The defendant was guilty on all counts. The charges included planning to cheat on taxes, hurting the environment, and running a gold trade network without a license. When Judge Rebecca Holloway gave the sentences, it was clear that she would not be gentle with the people who were accused. She said that what they did was a huge breach of public trust and a direct danger to the environment of the Yukon. According to what the experts said, the illegal use of chemicals like mercury and arsenic had already polluted the groundwater in a way that could last for generations. Tony Beets stayed stubborn. When he was given the chance to speak in court, Mike Beets seemed more emotional and calm. He told the judge that he had only done what his father told him to do. Judge Holloway said that was a convenient plea, but it didn't get him off the hook. Even experienced legal observers were shocked by the final verdict. Tony and Mike Beets will both spend the rest of their lives in jail. Legal experts said that this kind of term is very uncommon for financial crimes. But the prosecutors were able to prove that the severity of the damage to the environment called for the harshest punishment available. After the dramatic guilty verdicts and life terms for Tony and Mike Beets, Judge Rebecca Holloway made a harsh closing statement. Her words were heard all over the courtroom and beyond. That shows how serious the case's civil and environmental effects are. The mining industry and the entertainment industry were both shocked when they heard about the sentence. The Beets family was well known because they were on the Discovery Channel show Gold Rush for a long time. The show showed the ups and downs of placer gold digging in the Yukon. When the Beets went out of business, the show's trustworthiness and the public image of the industry were put under a lot of scrutiny. Because of this, the Discovery Channel quickly put out an official statement to distance itself from the problem. This news has shocked and saddened us very much. Discovery never knew of any illegal actions going on at the mines that were shown on Gold Rush. These claims are taken very seriously, and we are now rethinking how we do review going forward. Raw Television, the company that makes the show, also replied, saying that the show would be changing in big ways right away. All episodes of the show that already have the Beets family would be taken down from online services, and new episodes would focus on the criminal case. The future of the Gold Rush would not be cancelled, but production standards would be tighter, and there would be a greater focus on being open. The co-stars of the mining show were also shocked by the news. Tony Beets and Parker Schnabel had a competitive and sometimes bad relationship on screen. In a statement, Parker Schnabel said, "Tony was always intense and uncompromising, but I never suspected anything illegal. This changes how I think about everything that happened during those seasons." When reporters went up to Rick Ness, another experienced miner and cast member, he looked very shaken. "I have no words. I had no idea this would happen." Even though the verdict was very bad, Beets' lawyers moved quickly to file appeals. They said that there were many mistakes made during the trial that should not have happened, such as how the covert recordings were allowed and how the expert evidence was handled. Legal experts, on the other hand, said that the amount and quality of the information makes it unlikely that the appeal will be successful. As one legal expert put it, overturning such a broad conviction is a legal uphill battle. For now, Tony and Mike Beets were each sent to a different high-security prison, where they are waiting to hear the results of their appeals. The case is still being talked about in many different fields, as a warning about how expensive environmental crime can be, and the problems that can arise when you mix fame with business. Even though Tony and Mike Beets were found guilty, and given life sentences for environmental and financial crimes connected to their gold mine business, not all of their family members were found to be involved. Minnie Beets, Tony's wife and lifelong business partner, was not charged in the case, and has stuck by her husband ever since. In a rare and emotional public speech outside of court, Minnie spoke out in support of Tony's character and memory. "We've been together for 40 years. I know this man. He worked hard to get everything we have, not by breaking the law. The truth will be told. Both of their children, Kevin and Monica Beets, had worked in the family mining business and were regulars on Gold Rush, but they didn't say much during the hearings. Neither of them was charged, though. Both of them were seen in court during the trial. Later, prosecutors revealed that Kevin and Monica helped investigators in exchange for immunity. However, it was not made public how involved they were, or how much they knew about the illegal activities. At the same time, the effects of the Beets family's failure are spreading. The Canadian government has taken over the Paradise Hill mining business, which was once worth millions of dollars, and was seen as a major location in the Gold Rush series. Some steps have already been taken to clean up the environment. Early reports say that the cleanup will cost more than $20 million and could take decades to finish. One of the most important things that was taken away after the scandal was Tony Beets' repair dredge, a huge piece of mining equipment that had been the show's main attraction. Tests showed that mercury was present in every part of the building, labeling it as a dangerous substance. A machine that was once seen as a piece of Klondike mining history has been called toxic trash. Different people in Dawson City have had different responses. Some people in the area agree that the Beets family's fame on TV brought tourists and attention from around the world to the area. Some, though, say that the risky behavior had been clear for years. He did things his own way every time, said James Wilson, a Klondike miner for a long time. But no one thought that meant breaking the law in this way. For the reality TV business, the case is a turning point that has never been seen before. Reality TV has had its share of scandals, from cheating going on behind the scenes to scandals happening off screen. But the main characters in a hit show have never been charged with a crime of this scale. Analysts at Dot Media say that going forward, networks will have to have stricter oversight and screening methods for reality shows. Big changes have already been made to how Gold Rush is made and aired by Discovery Channel and Raw Television. The company that makes the show, Tony and Mike Beets, will start their lives in prison. But there are still a lot of questions out there. What will happen to the family's mine claims and tools that are still left? Is the Beets family history over? Will the rest of the family go back to mining? And maybe most importantly, how did one of the most famous gold mine families go from being on TV to being convicted of crimes? Tony and Mike Beets' criminal trial is over, but the civil drama is far from over. The prosecutors have stated that there is another civil case going on to figure out what will happen with the Beets family's leftover property. This part will be about how the family's years-long mining business has affected their finances and the environment. A lot of the Beets assets, like mining equipment, real estate and residual income from their TV appearances, are likely to be seized and sold. According to lawyers, the money will likely help pay for the $20 million needed to clean up the Paradise Hill site and other places that were affected by the pollution. Due to the presence of toxic chemicals like mercury and cyanide in the land and water, cleanup work could last for decades. As far as the Discovery Channel is concerned, the criminal convictions are a huge blow to one of its most popular and famous franchises. Gold Rush, which has been on since 2010, has regularly been one of the network's most popular reality shows. The Beets family is a big part of its appeal. People were really interested in Tony Beets because of his larger-than-life personality, tough guy attitude, and unique way of digging. Discovery has said it will continue Gold Rush after the scandal, with the focus now being on the remaining mining teams. Parker Schnabel and Rick Ness are two of them, but people who work in the business aren't sure if the show will be able to continue without the Beets family. They added drama, tension, and a story that spans generations. One TV expert said that the Beets caused a lot of disagreement, but they also got a lot of viewers. Gold Rush will have to change if it doesn't want to lose its core following. Raw Television, the company that makes the show, has promised to be more open and follow the rules going forward. It is said that future shows will include announcements from behind the scenes and talk about the effects of the Beets case, both on and off screen, as the civil trial gets closer and Paradise Hill starts to be cleaned up for good. It's still not clear what will happen to the Beets brand and the franchise that helped them become famous. As the courtroom emptied and people took in the decision, they saw familiar faces from the Gold Rush coming out with heavy hearts. Chris Dumit was one of them. He was a well-liked builder who had become a gold room operator and had worked with many mining teams over the years. His quiet dedication and skill earned him respect from everyone. When reporters approached Dumit outside of the courthouse, he spoke for many people in the Gold Rush neighborhood who were feeling down. Everyone is having a sad day today. This is a loser for everyone. People have died, the land has been damaged, and a business full of honest, hardworking people who do things the right way has been put in the dark. The last few minutes of the Beets trial were a strange mix of excitement and resignation in the courtroom. The atmosphere was tense and quiet as the police neared Tony and Mike Beets to arrest them. As the cameras quickly clicked, they caught what seemed like the end of a dynasty. Before they were let out, the elder Beets, who used to be the huge Viking of the Klondike, broke his quiet. He said a short and sad goodbye to the reporters, past crew members, and longtime viewers who were all crowded into the courtroom. The Viking has been killed. After hearing those words, he was led through the doors that would separate him from the kingdom he had worked so hard to build over many years. His dredges, his claim, and the history he used to be proud to show off to millions of people. For Gold Rush fans, it was a turning point. Family meals at camp, roaring machinery, and golden cleanouts used to be scenes of tough determination and victory. Now they have a darker and more disturbing tone. Episodes that were once praised for their success now feel clouded by lies, damage to the environment, and betrayal. The conviction makes everyone take a hard look at what they saw on TV. Not just the Beets family. It also makes loyal watchers wonder how much of what they saw was real, and how much was carefully hidden behind the camera. Videos from the Gold Rush and proof from the Beets trial are now being used by environmental groups to show people why strong mining laws are important. The point of these things is to show what can go wrong when rules are broken. It's also made people think hard about reality TV because of the case. Some people are wondering if TV makers should be more accountable for making sure that the things they film and make money from are legal and moral. This is why some TV executives are now asking for new rules for the whole business. They want clear studs to make sure that companies that are on TV are following the rules, especially in fields like mines. Tony Beets' other children, Kelvin and Monica Beets, worked with the family on Gold Rush a lot, but they were not charged because there was no proof they made any illegal choices. They said in a joint statement that they were shocked by how bad the violations were. They also asked to be left alone while they decide what to do next in their personal and business lives. It's now the start of the Yukon mining season without two of its most famous people. The conviction of the Beets is still having an effect. Government officials in the area have said that all mining businesses in the area will be inspected more often from now on. Because of this, Discovery Channel has also made it harder for its shows to show mining. Regular checks of the environment are one of these. A new documentary is also being planned to look into how the illegal activities went unnoticed for so long, even while they were being filmed. Real estate experts say this case has changed reality TV for good. It has now been shown that fame can't keep someone from getting in trouble. Once, Tony Beets said he was the king of the Klondike. Now he faces life in jail, away from his claims of being rich in gold in the TV spotlight. He worked for years to build a mining business, but now it's gone because of the justice he thought he could avoid.